You may have seen it, that interview between Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee, two men sitting across from each other, trying to explain identity, lineage, and history, and yet circling around the one question the whole world is suddenly wrestling with. Who are the Most High elect people? Their conversation didn't settle anything. If anything, it exposed something deeper. A global confusion, a rising tension, nations shouting over each other, people pointing fingers, a question the nations can't seem to silence. But Scripture isn't guessing. Scripture isn't confused. In Revelation, the Word has already told us exactly who His people are, their identity, their condition, and the reason the Most High is returning to gather them. Heaven is not confused, and Revelation 13:9 doesn't stutter. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Not debate, not speculate. Hear. Because today, the world looks at Israel and sees conflict, war, displacement, fear, and uncertainty. They see a land in crisis and assume that land alone defines identity. They see governments and armies and assume those institutions define lineage. But Scripture does not echo the world's assumptions. It cuts through them. When the Most High speaks, His word does not observe history. It declares it. And Revelation 13:10 speaks with that same unshakable authority. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. This is the condition of His people when He returns. A people enduring captivity, holding faith under pressure, standing in the very prophecy spoken over them. And that matters because captivity is not random. It is a sign, a marker, a prophetic fingerprint. Just like in Egypt, when the Most High performed wonders so mighty, so public, so earth-shaking that every nation knew who delivered Israel. And the nations didn't just know it then, they still know it now. Generation after generation, from ancient scrolls to modern classrooms, the story of what the Most High did in Egypt has never faded from human history. Just like the sign of the Messiah, His works, His resurrection, events so powerful that even Rome had to record them, miracles that reshaped calendars, cultures, and kingdoms. A sign the world still speaks of 2,000 years later. Just like the transatlantic slave trade, a second Egypt, the fulfillment of the prophecy that Israel would be taken so far, so vast, so brutal, so completely, that they would forget who they were, until the appointed time when they would remember the Most High in the very lands where they were carried captive. Ezekiel 6:8-9 says it plainly, "Yet will I leave a remnant, that ye may have some that shall escape the sword among the nations, when ye shall be scattered through the countries. And they that escape of you shall remember me among the nations, whither they shall be carried captives, because I am broken with their whorish heart, which hath departed from me, and with their eyes, which go a-whoring after their idols. And they shall loathe themselves for the evils which they have committed in all their abominations. And for that they were scattered, enslaved, renamed, erased, and carried into captivity by ships. They fit the prophecy the world refuses to acknowledge. The world debates, but prophecy identifies. Because the nations arguing is one thing, but when people who claim to believe the Scriptures refuse to believe the Scriptures, that's a deeper blindness. This uproar should trouble them most, because if anyone should recognize the signs, if anyone should understand captivity, scattering, covenant, and restoration, it should be those who say they read the Bible. Yet many of them are the loudest ones denying what the Bible reveals. The tragedy isn't just that Israel was scattered. The tragedy is that the world benefited from their scattering, built empires on their silence, strengthened nations on their captivity, rose to power on the backs of a people the world pretended not to see. Because the Scripture said the nations would do exactly that they would serve themselves on Israel. Jeremiah 25:14. For many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of them also, and I will recompense them according to their deeds and according to the works of their own hands. And that they would take advantage of their affliction, their labor, their loss, their displacement. And the prophet said the nations would carry a spirit that says, "Bow down that we may walk over." Isaiah 51:23. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, Bow down that we may go over. And thou hast laid thy body as the ground, and as the street to them that went over. This is the spirit of the beast, the power that rises by crushing his people. This is the spirit of rejoicing, a world celebrating the profit it made from his people's pain. This is the spirit that reaches for Israel's inheritance, treating their suffering as a staircase to its own success. And we know the nations that have done that. We know the kingdoms that built their wealth on Israel's wounds. We know the societies that climbed upward by pushing Israel downward. This is Isaiah 51:23 in living color, in global memory, in documented history, a sign that stands from generation to generation. Because only one people on earth were told to bow down so others could walk over. Only one people were turned into the ground beneath empires. Only one people were used as the street for nations to rise and march across. If this is not the transatlantic slave trade, I don't know what is. But heaven saw it, the word recorded it, and prophecy kept the receipts. And now, when the truth starts rising, the nations panic. They argue, they deflect, they shout louder. But the Most High doesn't shout. He simply says, "If any man have an ear, let him hear." Because if the world doesn't know who his people are, he does. If the nations forgot, he didn't. If history tried to bury them, prophecy kept the receipts. This story isn't about politics. It's not about modern borders. It's not about who the world accepts. It's about covenant, identity, inheritance, and the Most High who never loses track of his own. Revelation 13:9-10 isn't a threat. It's a reminder that the people who were led into captivity are not forgotten. A reminder that justice is woven into the fabric of prophecy. A reminder that identity is not determined by nations, governments, or headlines. The Most High himself is the witness. The Most High himself is the historian. The Most High himself is the one who names his people. And when he speaks, the uproar becomes irrelevant. If this speaks to you, share it. Let the truth breathe. Let it reach the ones who have ears to hear. Let's keep watch and pray. Thanks for watching.